with that, we now march ahead towards our next panel discussion after gathering a lot of thoughts from our previous set of panelists. It's now time to understand about securing the new normal, how to protect your cloud, workforce, and assets in the post-pandemic world. In order to deliberate on this topic, we have with us our esteemed speakers joining in. First up, we have with us Mr. Ajay Narula, who is moderating this entire session, and he's someone who comes with more than 20 years of globally widespread leadership experience in driving alignment of IT with business, setting up IT governance, defining IT strategy and roadmap, and also building strong technology team from the scratch. So yes, he will be responsible in extracting all the perspectives from fellow speakers that include Mr. Ketan Karkhanis, who's a CIO, Clariant Chemicals India Limited, who comes with more than 19 years of experience in IT operations. In fact, he's also launched training programs, spearheaded new technology and process initiatives. We also have with us Mr. Arun Atri, Vice President IT, Wonder Cement Limited, who comes with more than 25 years of experience across diverse industries. We're also joined by Ms. Awita Badonia, Head IT CSM India, Nokia India Private Limited, who has enormous experience of handling product delivery and projects, as well as lots of work experience in product and projects-based organization. We'll also be having Ms. Mansi Thapar, IT leader, Global Head Infosec, DPO Jaguar and Company Private Limited, who comes with more than 19 years of experience joining in. And we have with us Mr. Vikram Dua, Senior Director, Head Enterprise IT Security, Philips India Limited, who's a visionary and strategic technology leader with an extensive working career. So Mr. Vikram Dua is also one of our panelists. And that, of course, leaves me with our final panelist, Mr. Bhushan, CISO, Group Head Information Security and IT Compliance, Thermax Limited. He comes with more than 24 years of industry experience in IT across different industry sectors, including manufacturing, contact centers, software development, IT products, and services. So there you go. Those are the list of our panelists here, and it's time to get the answers from them in terms of understanding on securing the new normal. So let's find out the answers from them, and we'll get the session started in just a couple of seconds. Stay with us.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thanks to the media for giving this opportunity. So we have to discuss the major concern regarding for the critical production information assets. Those are the backbone for any organization. How to protect. So I request to the Mr. Vikram. So sir, we have to little bit explore about to the recent ongoing on the ransomware attacks. In these attacks, how we can protect our asset which are running on Windows XP and Windows 7, and our infrastructure, our application depending on that only. So how we protect our infrastructures in the manner unless the respective application team cannot change the modules. So sir, please little bit explain about that.
Thanks, Ajay. And first of all the views expressed here are entirely mine and do not reflect my company. So with that disclaimer, I think that's a very struggling question which all of us are facing at this point, where on what exactly needs to be done with these legacy systems, what exactly needs to be taken care of, because Windows XP, Windows 7, and in some cases, I know of cases where Windows 3.1 is being used in products where it is very difficult to upgrade because of legacy requirements and legacy applications. So we need, and because of end of life, it is very hard to patch them. So we need to make sure that, first of all, there should be a concentrated effort to upgrade them. There should be a concentrated effort to make sure that the applications get migrated, or at least the systems get upgraded. If that is not possible in many cases, then we need to make sure that in the current scenario with a lot of things going on, ransomware, malware, work from home, everything, we need to make sure that we basically encircle such devices, such systems into a more robust firewall environment where access is only on a need basis, and there is complete logging, and people are looking at it off and on to make sure that there is no unauthorized attempt on these machines, because these are the most vulnerable which we have right now. And in some cases, I have seen that the legacy applications running on these machines are running critical businesses. I think it's time for the business to basically look at with Windows 11 coming out, pretty soon, and Windows 7 and Windows is still in the mix. companies are struggling because in cases I know is that these legacy applications were built by somebody and the knowledge is gone. So those applications play a critical role in the business, but nobody knows what to do with them now because that are home-built, homegrown applications without any structure or without any oversight. So it's a very tricky question, and it's basically business needs to balance the business and security. At some point, you need to say, you know what, security is important, and I need to basically invest in moving these to a different platform. Or you can say, you know what, I need to invest in security because I can't move these two applications to a different platform. I need to invest in security to harden these servers or machines or end user devices, because I have to live with them for some more time. Sure. So it's a very, very dynamic situation, and it all depends from the environment to environment.
Sir, a few months ago, everybody aware of that. In the US, there is an incident happened in that's critical plant, and the system is same Windows XP and 7 with the malware hit. There is coming and making CNC connection, entire plant was down. And that base of that US president and Microsoft CEO, they did a great meeting, and US president approved to protect to the US infrastructure. So, sir, as per my understanding and what I learned from you here, the major concern is that unless we have to, okay, we do logical physical segregation, production network, user segments. Okay, we make it a lot of process, lot of SOP. But sometimes what happens, and due to business criticality, the IT people moving here to their asset. Then what happen? Very small things are, if somebody have a authorized USB, if it is a malware, okay, due to business agency, he put on the user segment, there is internet is working, then put on the production segment, then infection will be traveled. So, sir, unless we have to, we have two options. First one, either we have to remove this application quickly, upgrade. Second option, that it is very easy to say that, but when we go to the board of directors, discuss with the application developments, so they have a total different view. So, sir, at this time, all the application team managements have to understand the criticality of these things. Otherwise, what happens, sir, if any big incident will happen, then management open the hand. Okay, take it the budget. So my concern is that unless this Windows XP, Windows 7's application dependency will not move, so I think every industry facing the same problems. And, second one, recently personal data protection bill is going to convert in the act. So now, sir, what happens, sir? The legal team, HR team, all the people putting a ball in the bucket of the inform security, because end of the day, sir, system is there, user person information is there. Okay, HR will take a consent, but the concern is that if anything is happening, and if something is leaked outside for the respective employee information asset, so unless they have to always catch to CIO or CISO. So, sir, what is your view? Share your thought about that. How to all the people's tackle this situation? Because, sir, after 2-3 months, Mr. Modi will approve this, and it act work like in the US is the privacy. So, sir, what is your view on that, sir?
See, for any such thing to work, you need to have management buy-in. You need to have ExCo buy-in. You cannot deliver, you cannot implement any of these implementations without having the blessings of the ExCo, right? In the end, they have to run the business. In the end, it's all about making sure that the customer is basically happy. So you gave example of USB devices, you gave example of malwares. All these are devils in the domain, because we can disable the USB ports, we can disable other things, we can put our checks and balances in place. But the point is, in the end, if somebody from ExCo comes and says, disable this for me, basically the whole purpose is gone. If some senior manager comes and say, I need it to make this happen, otherwise business is suffering, you basically have to either be the bad guy and say, no, as per security policy, you're not authorized, or you basically make an exception. And as soon as you open the gate, then everybody wants it. So, and comparing the policies in the US and in India is a little bit too premature, because the US is more strengthened right now in the sense they have had been policies from NIST and FDA and HIPAA and all those things for quite some time. India is trying to catch up now. India is trying to basically make up for the lost ground because of so many, issues happening across the globe on ransomware and malware and everything else, because any company or any country does not want their name in the front page of Wall Street Journal for wrong reasons. So India is making steps in those right steps in those directions, and I think the adoption will take some time. We can create rules, we can create policies, but the adoption has to take time. It's just like GST. We created the policy, we created the process. The adoption took some time, and now we are basically at a point where we are, stable. So same thing with IT policies also. You can create privacy policies, you can create information policies, you can implement them, but it will be a few years before basically everything stabilizes and we realize that we are at par with the rest of the world when it comes to standards, policies, procedures to define and ensure that information security is more important, whether it's a legacy system, legacy application, or an old server, or even the latest and the greatest machines. So it's somebody has to bell the cat, and I think India is working towards belling that cat and trying to make sure that we basically are becoming more global in that respect.
Thank you, Vikram sir. Now I request to Bhushan sir. Bhushan sir, namaskar.
Yeah, hi Ajay, namaskar. Namaskar to everyone.
I'm fine. Bhushan sir, recently we have realized suddenly a lot of organizations are not prepared for the work from home. Few, let's say example, organization A, they have suppose they have a 10,000 employee, but they are giving a work from access only 500 people. But suddenly, sir, last 1.5 years, they are giving SVPN access to at least 90% employee. In this scenario, sir, if I'm talking about to any pharma organization, any medical critical organization, those making the designs, formula, and major concern the R&D people, though are working that develop each and everything at home, suddenly they require a USB access, they are requiring a DRM access, right, sir? So in this scenario, sir, it is very difficult to track these people, sir. So, sir, in this your experience, could you elaborate about to the people working at work from home, because management is require the business continuity, right, sir? But in terms of the security, in terms of the CIO, CISO ownership, they have to also think there's a critical information R&D people have, they will not take it in the personal device, blah blah blah. So, what is your view on that, sir?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So my first answer to your earlier questions about legacy systems, Mr. Vikram has explained it very well. But the answer for that question also and this question, first answer is, we are security people, we are security accountable people for the company. But at the same time, whatever we implement or design has to suit the business requirements. So yeah, somewhere there we know that it is not compatible, not compliant, will have risks, but we have to align with business and then think of some solutions. So that is the first answer, that yes, we have to find some solution. At the end only we have to say, no, it is not possible. But till that time, we have to struggle and choose some solution which will suit business also and which will also suit for the security requirements also. Now coming to this question of work from home enablement, I have come from the manufacturing background, so pharma is something maybe I will not be able to answer it from that angle. But at the same time, again, it is the same thing that yes, business continuity was required in last 2 years when work from home was happening. So how to implement that if it was not in place? And mainly when it comes to manufacturing or pharma, as you rightly said, the data should reside centrally. That is the first and foremost thing. So last 2 years, what we have learned is the data at central place and the security solutions around that. And the second buzzword that came in picture is zero trust architecture. So till now, we might be having VPNs in place, but those VPNs were only allowed based on, yes, we know the user, we allow VPN for him or her. But now it is a zero trust architecture. That context has to be there. That user is there. Along with that, whether the device is also allowed. Along with that, whether timing is also allowed. And maybe in addition to that, the software or the data that he or she needs to access, whether that is also allowed or not. So there is a context set in the zero trust architecture. And based on all the parameters, if they are saying yes, then only allow the access to the application or the critical formula and all those that you are saying. So first thing is, yes, the data has to be at the central place, not at the end user devices. So that minimizes the risk of data getting leaked from the end user devices. Second, of course, end user devices ports have to be blocked, because from work from home, that was the main thing, that okay, end user devices are not in control. So blocking of the peripheral ports of the end user devices. And then finally, in the systems like where we have the central system or engineering systems, you can prefer to have the remote access of the systems which are kept in office. So instead of allowing everything from end user device, you can only allow the remote access to the end user computers that are kept in office or the servers that are kept in office, and then no access to the local ports. So this is the mix and match strategy for allowing such kind of things. It was my opinion.
Right. So one point I'm sharing with you. One of my friend is working in the US. So approx 2-3 years back, I got a call from him. So he has a approx 10,000 assets, sir. This is a real live practical scenario. So sir, that organization in the production environment, approx 80% asset working on the Windows XP. Suddenly, sir, LNK virus is travel there due to seeking rights. So sir, he got a guidelines and direction from the OEM. You have to install KB 2215 security patch, sir. So that time, sir, what I have realized, he is the gentleman saying, how can I do that? I do not have any centralized system to push on the Windows XP. So I can understand, because sir, we have a good networking. If anyone facing any issue, we are sharing to each other. So sir, trust me, the gentleman install the KB 2215 patches, manual each and every systems. He spent 7 days. The reason is that he can install automatic also, but concern is that whenever the patch will go, it will asking a restart. Suppose line is running and patch system will reboot, because the one line depended to another line, right, sir? Then downtime will be increased, and who will manage this downtime? ABC user. So sir, that the gentleman struggle last 20-30 days that time, and he fixed up the issue. But finally, he found out some AI OT based one solution, and then he installed one agent, and all the like patches, asset, USB, antivirus, malware managed by the one agent. So, sir, in this view, I think any of face such kind of the issue, and management is saying, no, we have to production require up each and every cycle and each and every phase. In this, your opinion, sir, what you share the best practice to avoid such kind of the things in the production environments?
Yeah, so again, it goes back to the same question of old systems, legacy systems. So the first and foremost things, you should have the list of all such things. And in every risk assessment, risk treatment activity that you are doing, we should keep on listing them and keep on highlighting that to the very senior most management, that, okay, we have so many systems where there is a risk of non-compliance, risk of non-compatibility, and risk of ransomware because of the patches and all those things which we are discussing here. So even ransomwares like NotPetya, or even before that, all those things, even affected because of that only. That old systems were there. There was a patch available, but it was not able to get through all the systems, and that's why the system got affected. So having that list, having the visibility of all such systems, and then continuously highlighting them to the business that, okay, these are the systems, there is a risk, we need to manage that slowly, not maybe immediately, and then go for it. Now, and then, yes, if whatever systems are still remaining, as you rightly said, there could be an agent, There are antivirus systems which allow you to block the complete system in a way that it does not allow any other application to be installed. So you only whitelist certain applications. You can use those features of the antivirus systems. So in a way, you are protecting that system, even though it is non-compatible or non-compliant. And then slowly keep on reducing the system is how I think you will have to attempt for all this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I have a request to ma'am. Awita, ma'am.
Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, as you also face this challenge in your organization, also everybody is facing. If anything is happening, so many senior people listen, shift on cloud, shift on cloud. We are saying is some problem in the server room, data center server is down, and our senior people, CEO, CFO, heard somewhere, shift on the cloud, shift on the cloud. So ma'am, what is your experience in this pandemic situation whenever management give the direction, okay, this physical server move to cloud? It is very easy to say for the senior management, but we are that position. We have to look availability, integrity, confidentiality, data leakage. We have to see each and everything. Because when I'm talking about the data center server, everything in my hand, access in my hand, authentication is in my hand. But here we don't know. We just believe on non-disclosure agreement, blah 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 blah. And then there is a lot of issue will come. If the server reside in US, it will applicable the respective jurisdiction law of there. If in India, it belong to our cyber law. And if I'm talking about to Pakistan, they are saying there is no law in the Pakistan. So my concern is that it is a very different scenario, different environment. So madam, could you share your experience on specific the management saying move on the cloud during the pandemic situation?
I agree with you 100% because especially the after pandemic, the entire mindset has moved to the management mindset has moved to cloud. So you're able to centralize things, and ROI would be better in the coming years. But definitely, it is not a very easy job, and especially for the company like Nokia, like we have presence around global presence with so many around more than 100 countries and more than 100,000 people. So and number we have like data centers in number of countries. So we actually based on what you are saying, we also expedited our movement to cloud program post pandemic, which would have taken another 2 years, and it started last year itself. But definitely I would think there are a lot of things which needs to be taken care of when you actually make a cloud plan, because just simply when somebody says move to cloud, it should not be the strategy to move to cloud. You definitely have to make your strategy looking 5 years into the plan. You have to think what it makes sense to move to cloud right now, right? What is very important to move to cloud, and what the return of investment you will get while moving to cloud, because it is also an investment when you move to cloud. It's not free to move to cloud, right? When you phase, and the plan which you make should be like, you should make a phase out plan in a gradual manner. Like
Yes, sir.
what is, you have to decide, what is the most critical. Maybe you can decide on 80-20 approach and see what is the 20% which needs immediate attention to move to cloud. And then you have to take a lot of things into account, like what you have to think about the applications, legacy applications, the interoperability, the security, right? And as you said, that you also have to take into consideration where some of the legal laws, where they allow your data to be put in the server or cloud in US or not. It is allowed or not. So we are also facing such conditions where we have moved into we are in a phase of moving into the cloud into a larger way, but we segregated, like we started with IT and then we'll move to the business. But in this case also, there are a lot of people who are coming to us and saying that our customer doesn't allow this, so we have to move to this. So there are a lot of exceptions which are coming into it, which needs to be taken into account. So it is just not as simple like giving a contract to some cloud service provider and just making like move everything to the cloud. It is not that easy. And even when you start moving your applications, there'll be a lot of things which you will face. Like it may not work. You may face issues like stack overflow or interoperability, or the applications are not working as it has been designed, or the architecture which you have actually looked into, it doesn't work as it was. So the better thing is, rather than the best experience which I have is that start with the pilot, look into the most critical stuff which you want to move. Do not make 100% of the plan to move. Only things which will give you a return of investment. So it should be a very planned approach to move to the cloud, looking into the legalities and also the security. Because if you look into the NSA of cloud, like right, NSA is, they have got the most critical severe requirements on what you can do and what you cannot do. So those kind of things also you need to take. And when you think of NSA, because everybody knows about NSA, about US, but when you think of Vietnam, there are customers. It's a very small country, but there are customers who do not allow you to move your data. So you have to look into each country's legalities, security, public, where you want to move to public, where you want to move to private, where you want to keep it hybrid. So there's a lot of stuff which you want to look into. You may even start looking into your applications which are more easier to move, like your HR or your supply chain management, which you want to integrate. So those kind of things should be the first one to move on, and with where you get return of investment also very easily, and maybe the less where you may not face those many issues. But when you start moving actually the applications which reside in the server, those are really the most critical ones, and where you face the most of the issues.
Ma'am, last question. Recently, regarding for the data protection bill, so everybody, if I'm talking about the legal team, if talking about the consultant, anywhere, so they just say only one single statement. If anything will be fined, the 4% penalty of the entire turnover of the business. If some organization has a business in entire globe in 100 countries, so in this purview, as per my experience, what organizations are doing, immediately moving the server which are outside to the India, putting in India. Okay. And definitely when the system will come in the India, they will move in the DMZ, pentest setting, blah, 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 blah. But ma'am, what is your thought about that? It is only simple statement कि 4% penalty will be happen, or are Indian organization are adaptable, acceptable these things, or in the like in US, if anything is happening, they are very strict about that. If NIST sends some notification, so they will easily implement it. So, madam, what is your view and thought about on that? Because
my view is that
will convert to the act, then definitely everybody has to follow.
So my view is is that the law of the land should be respected. It should be like, you should really have your get it verified, whatever you do by your legal teams or IT experts before you take any decisions. Whichever land you work on, that particular country's law should be very well respected, and no, ignorance is not a bliss. So you just because you do not know anything means you can do everything. That is also not good. So you should, especially in these changing duration, right, changing time frame, where India is also adapting itself and trying to make its security laws or privacy laws more strict, or at least make them applicable so that people are more aware about it. And we have seen a lot of things coming into the paper about Twitter and things where they're trying to implement new laws, and or also government is trying to actually sensitize the people, like you cannot get away by doing anything, and everything, thinking that India, it is possible to do whatever you want to do and you can get away with that by in the law, saying that the laws, there are so many loopholes in the laws. We are not at the place where Europe is or where US is in terms of the laws, but definitely our government is also making some attempts, and we will be eventually going towards that. So whatever is as on date, which in India or any other country, we should respect the law of the land, and we should have a strong legal team. And I have seen that if we have a strong legal team, but they do not understand from the IT perspective, that is one of the loopholes. So you should have them working in conjunction with the IT subject matter experts, so that both of them work together and understand the country's law and apply them as possible.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Namaste, Keval ji. And last question, ma'am. We have realized we have a good SOC team, we have a good infrastructures, we have a good detecting appliance like a FireEye, Doorwall, and SOC team all 24/7 monitoring. But what happens whenever infection will come in the system, the user is saying, this is my genuine file, but the respective file infected by the respective virus, they have modified its integrity. That's why system generate the ticket and it will go to SOC to come to the user end. So in this scenario, ma'am, what is your view? Because the generally industry doing the practice ki move SVPN to zero trust network. As per my understanding, as per my experience, the people working from the home, our critical infrastructure is also running, our DMZ application is running. SOC team is very essential because they are putting 24/7 eye. What infection is coming, what detection is coming. How to more stringent to prevent our information asset from the malware attacks, CNC connections, either people working from the work from home, either working in the plant, either working in the R&D lab, either working the sales sites. What is your view and thought about on it?
Is this question to me? I wasn't sure because I thought you asked somebody else.
Oh, I'm asking to Miss Kavya.
Okay.
Miss Kavya, are you there?
Yes, Mr. Ajay. I believe Mansi and Arun will not be joining the panel, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So shall we discuss?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My concern is that suppose I'm giving one scenario.
So sorry, Ajay, Kavya is not part of the panel. Kavya is the moderator.
Okay.
So you have to ask somebody else. Sorry, Kavya.
Okay. So Varun, Vikram sir? Vikram sir?
Yes, sir.
I'll request you.
Yeah, please.
Sir, what happened? I have a good SOC team. I have a plant environment. I have a R&D environment. I have a sales in the pan India. I have a business in US, UK, blah, blah, a lot of things. But sir, what happened? We put the good appliance for the malware detection, forensic analysis, ticketing system, each and everything, sir. But sir, what happened? Okay, so suppose SOC part we outsource to IBM, Deloitte, anywhere. We always pressurize to SOC team only, because when CNC connection is coming and when a malware infection is coming, okay, logical physical segregation we did for the production network, user network. Sir, what is the best way to protect to the malware attacks? Either people working with the work from home, either working the production, R&D, on the business trip. Sir, please share your view with us so that all the gentlemen implement the best practice in the respective organization. Because sir, anything will be down due to malware infection. The top management only thinking down because of what? They will not go in the detail. So, sir, what is your view on that, sir?
So there is not one size that fits all. There is not one single solution that can solve this problem. This is a problem which has been going on for years,
Sir.
and it all depends upon what your environment and infrastructure looks like. You need to evaluate your needs and then put the solution which best suits you and suits you. It could be end user protection on devices. It could be at the firewall level. It could be at the SOC level. But I think blaming the SOC people for anything like this is not the right way to go. SOC is monitoring your network. They are a security operations center who are looking at malware attacks which are happening within the company. They cannot prevent it, they can monitor it. So if I use a infected USB stick and stick it into my computer and bring down half the network, it is not the SOC problem, right? SOC is not to be blamed. SOC is basically monitoring it. So we need to have the right kind of processes in place. We need to have the right kind of checks and balances in place to make sure that our end user devices are protected with the right antivirus. They have the right firewall settings in place. There are policies in place to ensure that the USB devices or any other external devices is not being utilized. And above all, with the new work from home, they have to be careful about their home environment also.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they should basically be using the right VPN to dial in, to do their activities. And this is not only limited to nowadays to desktops and laptops and end user devices. This is also going into mobile. So depending upon the mobiles which you use, you can basically create problems for the larger organization from a mobile phone also once you access your activity at work. So it will be very difficult for me to say that this is one solution that is basically will fix everything.
Yeah, Vikram, sorry to interrupt you. Sir, what happened when the senior people request to the IT team, so we are saying we will install MDM, container in your phone. So senior people are thinking these people tracking my location, tracking my data. So they have a total different kind of behavior. When we educate, then they will understand. But still, they are thinking, or sir, almost senior people carrying two phones, one for official purpose, second for the personal purpose. For sir, these are the things. If you are saying you bring your own device, then people also coming a lot of such kind of things will become. So sir, what is your view on that, sir?
So if the policy and the company policy states that this is the way it is, then irrespective whether it's the CEO or somebody else, it should be standard across the board. We should not be making exceptions. The moment you make an exception like this, you are closing the front door, but you're opening the window for things to happen. Right? If they want to carry two phones, hey, be my guest. But the point is, I'm not going to change my policies to make your life easy. And it also depends upon education. Education and training plays a big, important part in these days. The awareness that you need to bring to the employees is very important. They need to understand the things happening in the world. They need to understand that if we deviate from the policy, what will happen? So those are the kind of things which you need to put in place.
Right. I just want to add with what Vikram had just said, because our experience regarding this entire malware and ransomware process, so this ransomware are so carefully planned and it follows a very scientific mechanism. So it actually follows a flow chart. So they start with inspection, wherein they choose the target, do a bit of background research, then they do weaponization, wherein they pair remote control malware with the deliverable. It's almost like a SDLC. Then they go to delivery part. Then they do the exploitation part. When once the malware is delivered, I mean, it does nothing for days and months, and we have seen this very closely. And then they basically exploit the vulnerability. Then comes the installation, wherein the weapon opens a backdoor, allowing the hacker to actually connect remotely. Then comes the command and control, wherein the hacker basically works quietly to spread the malware. And again, this happens for weeks and months. And then, they decide a day, typically it's a Friday or a Saturday. These things, they never happen on a Monday, Tuesday, wherein the entire team is, completely vigilant. It happens on a weekend, and then it attacks. And within minutes, you see, 200, 300 people, or even more getting impacted. And then it is just like, it is just like a COVID virus. It just starts spreading and spreading and spreading. And the only way to is quarantine, So I think...
Ketan sir, one question. Suddenly we have realized in the organization, management saying, okay, it is a SVPN, move for the VDI. So sir, I think you can understand, COVID has happened. Mr. Modi gave us some statement, that will take the decision, SVPN to VDI, right, sir? In this, your view, sir, we can understand VDI is a best perspective compared to the SVPN. Sir, please share your thought on comparison between SVPN and the VDI, sir.
So I will, I will talk about what is our company strategy. What is Clariant's strategy? Clariant, just for everyone's knowledge, is a Swiss manufacturing company. So we are very strongly governed by the Swiss and the European laws. In terms of, so we are very, GDPR. We are very active in GDPR.
That's
we have been
great.
following this for years. Even we are based. I mean, we have got an India office and a large footprint in India. We still predominantly follow a lot of GDPR because there are a lot of expats, working in India, who are part of the European Union. Our strategy as such, we kind of tried VDI few years back,
Sir.
and it didn't took off, for the kind of businesses we are in, the kind of, we are into B2B, B2B business. And for some reasons, we did not, I mean, VDI did not work for us as such. But what we are doing is, and it's a 3-year project, is we have the data centralized, which is in, a couple of data centers in Europe. Right now, we are doing a project which are moving the data from data center to AWS. So data center to cloud. So we have partnered with AWS, and also, a very important factor here comes, and that is the latest trend, is upskilling. So we cannot do data center to AWS, with the current skill set. So we recruited some, Amazon specialists, and we had a plan in place, and then now we've started.
We have to fulfill this skill management gap to go for the next level.
Absolutely, yeah. And I would say, end of the day, it's the culture. You need to have that culture to, I mean, we took the first step to cloud in 2012, and I remember that time, we really struggled to get business acceptance. We moved our travel and expense, which was a very non-compliant on-premise system, to SAP Concur that time, and business was not ready to accept it, because suddenly no one was able to, they didn't have an admin to change everything, and they used to do a lot of self-surveys and so on and so forth. Yeah, so it's more of a culture. Now the culture has changed. Now I think more and more companies are accepting the cloud, and now it's going to be a bit better. Yeah.
Ketan sir, you have a hands-on experience the GDPR. If we are talking about to somebody saying personal data protection bill, that penalty, GDPR nahi hoga, so that penalty. Okay, somebody saying pehle ISO certified karo. So sir, there is a lot of different view are coming. When we discuss with the legal team, so they are pitch is very high. So sir, based of your experience, if one organization want to cover ISO, GDPR, personal data protection bill, HIPAA and everything, for that sir, what is your view for the organization to cover these all of the things?
I think Awita ma'am told very nicely that we need to respect the law of the land. Yeah. So I think law of the land takes precedence in all these. So you have to go typically in a country like, in a company like Clariant, which is we are present in almost 55 countries, and there we are present in all the continents. So there are different laws for different countries, and then we definitely need to go by the law of the land. Yeah. So the legal system has to be really strong. Yeah. And I think there should be a culture of the employees to check with legal. I mean, before doing anything else, we also run a shared services center in Airoli in Mumbai, which cater to all the English speaking countries. And before we went live, I remember, we had spent almost 6 months checking with legal, checking with the various DOT consultants, whatever we are doing, it has to be compliant. And we figured out what we had planned initially was completely other way around. It was not technically compliant in India. And then we had to change the architecture. We have to move some servers from India to Europe, and some servers from Europe to India, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I think the legal system has to be very strong. There should be a culture to check with legal, before doing anything else. Yeah.
So the last questions, we whenever we work with the production environments, and there is a critical infrastructures, but dependency on the lower OS. So every time management is saying ki follow industry 4.0 framework, industry 5.0 framework. So, sir, what is your practical approach about this?
I will put it this way, all this industry 4.0 and digital. I mean, yeah, definitely, there are buzzwords, but end of the day, your solution should add business value, right? It is also depending on the segment you are in. For example, chemical manufacturing, I would say it's a bit of a laggard, in adopting digital compared to maybe, banks or financial institutions. They have adopted digital in a quite different way. Off the shelf, companies, who are B2C, the FMCG companies, they have also adapted in a slightly different way. But for chemical manufacturing, it is a bit of a laggard. And, so we are taking very slow steps, definitely. So there are two aspects. So one is digitalization and digitization. So digitalization is basically you change the way you operate, you change the way you do business, because suddenly now, we took a step 2 years back into online sales. Never before chemical industries ventured into online sales, like the FMCG companies, but they had taken such steps, but in a very, very, a very small volume. They cannot take big volume because this entire chemical manufacturing works on a distributor model, and it's a very complex model, right? But the other companies like FMCG and all, they have taken this step long time back, and they are successful as well. So, but digitization, wherein you automate or you kind of convert the manual processes into electronic, that is something is a must have, is a must do. And we are doing a lot in these our plants, in terms of safety, in terms of predictive maintenance, and in terms of we monitor the moving parts, and then we have some analysis to be done that where that machine can fail, all that analysis is done, but that digitization, not digitalization. There are two aspects. So I would say chemical industry is taking steps to digitization more than digitalization. The actual way of operating business remains the same as it is before.
Sure. Thank you, Ketan sir. Thank you very much. I request to Bhushan sir.
Yeah, Ajay.
Bhushan sir, one thing is very essential if I'm talking about to the application security, because at this time, critical application working on the DMZ sites, we are doing pen testing, white, gray, everything. But sir, what is your view to us regarding for the application security to prevent from the malware attack or any hacking attacks in this scenario, in these times? So sir, please share your view with us.
So any application which we install or it is already implemented in a system. So there are two aspects. One is when which is already running or already implemented, you have to perform the VAPT testing on regular basis, on periodic basis. So vulnerability assessment, penetration testing of the published applications, that has to be an ongoing process. It should not be once in a while or once in a 2 years or something like that. And not only doing that, but even after getting that, whatever report you are getting, there could be critical risk, high, medium, low risks. You have to follow up and then get them closed also. So each application with the growing threats, the landscape and everything, it will keep on adding to the risks. We have to close all those points and then keep on doing this as a regular practice. That is one. For the new applications, whenever they are getting installed, there has to be a set process. And that is my answer to your question about GDPR, ISO, and all those frameworks.
Yes, sir.
Also,
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what happens is whenever you are doing all such things, GDPR and all such frameworks, they do not ask you to certify on anything. What they ask is, if at all something happens, somebody asks you some question, you should be able to demonstrate how you have implemented all the IT practices, IT operations, and security practices. So for demonstrating that, what you need is some kind of framework. It is always recommended to have some kind of framework. It could be ISO, it could be NIST, it could be COBIT, it could be any framework that you have. But at least once you implement such kind of framework, may certify or may not certify, but framework is there aligned with all your operations, then you are able to demonstrate whenever there is a need. And one such part of such any kind of framework is the SDLC or application development. It should go through all that cycle of test development. When it comes to actual implementation, you should know the complete checklist of which ports are required to be opened, whether it will be in-house, on-premise, or on cloud, what all ports are required to be opened, and then why they are required, how the data will flow, which type of data will flow with the personal data, all those questions come in. So there is a checklist, huge checklist of how the data, what data, how it will flow, what security measures are already in place and what are required to be in place. And then finally, some architecture which will highlight to the management also in a layman's language, not in a technical, this is how your data is going to flow. And then if at all we are raising some question as a bad man that, okay, it is not allowed or it should not be done, we should be able to explain it very clearly in that language that, okay, that is the reason we should not allow, or we should allow with say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, some additional steps to be taken. and then only the new application should get implemented. So this is how the approach should be.
Right. Last question. Sir, if I'm talking about to the laptop lost case, we have everything in hand, security, undertaking, everything. But due to carelessness, R&D people lost the laptop. So people are very clever. They go for FIR, blah, 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 blah. So sir, in this scenario, if anything is happened big, as a inform security head, CISO, CIO, they can say due diligence, we have taken the sign, we give the training, okay, these are in or out approval, blah, 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 blah. But sir, when if suppose employee has very strong background and he take a advice from any good cyber lawyer, right sir? So he will open lot of things as a intermediate act of the respective employer. These are the responsibility. Okay, sir. As per the training session awareness, he is saying, ki, sir, they give me only 1 year. I'm forget about that. So, sir, in this scenario, in this case, what happened? HR will think, okay, don't need to go for any court vote. Let call them the employee settlement and close it. So, sir, what is your view about on it? How to be more stringent such kind of the scenarios to avoid the things and protect our organization. We are doing duties everything, but as an intermediary of the organization has a authority, they can watch what employee is doing. But sir, after each and everything putting, then still HR come on the back foot and call to the employee and do the settlement. Sir, please your view on thought and about it.
Again, two aspects. So in today's world, laptop as an asset, I would not say it is very less value, but comparatively less value. But the data residing on that laptop is having more value for the business. So first and foremost, the architecture should be designed in such a way that minimum data resides on the end user device. In fact, in our organization, the policy that we have implemented clearly says, right from the policy to the procedure to the awareness session, everywhere it is mentioned that there is no backup taken or there is no responsibility taken for the data residing on laptop. And it is not only for the end user, but the business owners who are responsible to tell those users that, okay, our business data should not reside on your end user device. So even if the laptop gets stolen because of either carelessness or maybe because of some genuine reasons, it is possible that somebody is traveling or somebody happens as a theft. It's okay. I mean, then the device can go away and then HR can settle with the user whether to get that money of the laptop value only. But the data which is residing somewhere else is more important. Second aspect, of course, we have other solutions like data encryption. So even if the laptop gets stolen, if the data or the complete disk is encrypted, yeah, the protection that, okay, nobody else will be able to at least view the data. It can be formatted and then maybe use that asset can be used by somebody else, but at least your data gets protected. And then likewise, the DLP encryption, all those things can come in place. But it's a mix of, I would say, technology and the disciplinary problems. And the more value is not with the asset, but with the data residing on that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Vikram sir, Bhushan sir, Ketan sir, Awita and Kavyaji. Thank you very much for your precious time. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Ajay.
Thank you.